Hey builders, thanks for checking out this buildable demo video. So today I am going to build a networking contact manager. We are in the process of building a bunch of buildable apps to put into our template app center so that when new builders come on the Buildaible platform, they can jump in, go to our template app center, grab an app, start using it, or even further customize it to their specific needs. But you don't necessarily have to start from scratch. So we're building a whole host of apps that we're putting in there, and at the same time, I am going to be recording some demos of when I build these apps to put them out on socials, YouTube, so any new builders coming on the Buildaible platform can check it out and see the power of Buildaible. So for this one, it's going to be a simple application that's going to have three tables. Tables are going to be an events table, a contacts table, and then an interactions table. So I was just talking to a few business owners recently that go to a lot of networking events. You go to a lot of these networking events and you get all these business cards from people, and you may need somewhere to kind of track where you met those people and then any follow-up interactions that you may have with them. Now, it's kind of going towards the direction, towards a CRM, but not fully a CRM. So it's more of like a basic level, type of CRM. One of the perfect examples of someone that could really use this would be like a banker that I met recently, that he's always at these networking events and always getting business cards from people. And he doesn't have a good place to keep track of it. Right now, it's keeping track of it in an Excel spreadsheet. So we're going to go ahead and create a networking contact manager application. So if you are new to Buildaible and you don't have a Buildaible account, head over to buildaible.com and sign up for your free single user account. Free single user accounts are free forever. And if you ever get to the point where you want to add other people onto your applications, you can add those users then, and that's when you start paying for Buildaible. So go out there, grab a free account, and follow along in this video, and you'll see how easy it is to build in Buildaible. And this is without any of the AI. This is just using the workflow and the user interface and user experience that we built into the product. So I am logged into my Buildaible account, and I can see, we've got a CRM that's going to be that's already in the Template App Center. I just created the starter project manager that's going to go in the Template App Center. And now we're going to go ahead and create this networking contact manager. So the first thing I would do is click Build a New App. I'm going to build it myself. Our AI is coming in the future. I'm going to call this Networking Contact Manager. And I will give it a little icon down here, which would be something like this. Might give it this, this cool orange. And yeah, I'll add a description later. So go ahead and create this app. And now it's brought me into the application, and I need to build my first table. So the first table that I am going to build is going to be events. And a single record in the table is called an event. And we'll give it a little icon. So let's see, maybe we'll select this calendar icon, and we'll keep the same orange that we chose for the original app icon there. So again, I can add a table description later to this. So we'll go ahead and hit Create Table. And then it is going to take me into creating what fields I want in this table. So the first field that I am going to create is going to be event name, and that is going to be a text field, and we will make that required. Hit the plus sign here to add another field. So the next field is going to be date. So what is the date of the event? So we'll go ahead and do that, and we will we'll make this required. We'll leave it open for right now. Okay, location. So we'll make that a text field for now. We'll go ahead and add that. And then the last one is going to be a description. So description of the event. And we'll make that a paragraph field so that way you can type in whatever you want into that field. Okay, so we'll go ahead and hit done. So now, the next thing that we are going to need is we are going to need a contacts table. So let's go ahead and hit the plus sign up here in the top left to create a new table. And we're going to call this contacts. And we'll select an icon. Let's say, let's give it this one, since this is a little bit different than what the app icon is. And a single record is called a contact. And we'll go ahead and create that table. So now I need to add some fields. So the first thing I'm going to add is going to be full name. We'll make that a text field, and that should be required. Now I'm going to add another field in here. We'll make that a company. We'll make that a text field as well. And we'll make that required. Job title. So that can also be a text field. Add that. And I keep clicking the plus sign because we have additional fields that we want to add. Email. And we will select an email address field. Phone. And we'll select the phone number field. And then met at event. Now this is going to be a little bit different. We want to be able to select one of the events that are in the other table once that event is created. So we're actually in this case going to choose this link a record field so that it will link this contact to an event MetaMap. So you'll be able to choose, when you're adding this contact, you'll be able to select which event you met them at. So we'll go ahead and hit link a record. And in this first option we're going to choose down here is going to be which table do we want to link values from. So in this case we're going to say the events table, only other table that we have. And then what do we want to choose in the drop down when we add a contact? When we select which event they're at, what do we want to choose? It's probably going to be the event name. So that's what this is asking here. So we'll go ahead and select event name. And we'll go ahead and hit plus. So now the last field we want to create on this table, or actually no, there's two more fields. So we're going to create a business card image. And that is going to be a file attachment field. So that way you can take a picture of their business card and you can actually attach it to their profile in Buildaible. And the last thing here that we want to create is going to be a notes field. So that will make a paragraph so you can kind of type more information into. And that's going to be the last field we're creating on this table. So I'm going to go ahead and hit done. Now, the last table that we want to create is going to be what's called, we call it interactions. You can call it other things, but we're going to call it an interactions table. And basically this would be like, hey, you come back from that event and you email some of these people that you met. You could then put that into this interactions table and show that you emailed them on a specific date, what you said to them. So you're tracking it all in one system. You don't have to go back and look through your email or anything like that. So for this, we will choose maybe this mail option. And actually, I'll go back to that and make it the orange like the rest of the app. And we will go ahead and hit create table. Now you can see the interactions over there with the contacts and events. So to create this, we will say the contact. And this is just like we did for the events on the contacts table. We want to be able to choose a contact on this interaction. So for that, we're going to do link a record. And we'll select the contacts table. And the field that we will select will be the contact full name. Plus sign here to add another field. So we want to be able to track the date of this interaction. So I'm giving it the name of date. Go ahead and select the date. We'll default this to the current date. So if you enter interactions, that'll already be filled with the current date, but you can change it if you need to. So go ahead and hit plus sign. We want to know type. So what type of interaction was this? So for that, we're going to select a single select field. Single select, you have to build out a little bit further in other fields. So you have to actually choose which options or add which options you want and drop down. So for this, we're going to say phone call. We're going to say email. We're going to say in person. And then maybe another option is social media. So maybe, I know a lot of people that when I go to networking events are messaging me on LinkedIn. So that would be, one that maybe you would track in there. And then before we go any further, we're going to give these some different colors. So that way you can see kind of colorized on here. So maybe a phone call will make blue, email is purple. In person would be green, and maybe social media will make yellow. Obviously you can make whatever colors you want. And then we do have the option to set this as a default. I would say maybe emails is probably going to be majority of the time. So we can set that as email. So when you go in to create an interaction, it's already set up as email, but you can change it to something else. You don't have to set a default value, but I will just for this case. The next thing is we want to put in the another notes field for this interaction. So we'll make that a paragraph. We want to be able to track what was actually said or discussed on the interaction. So we'll go ahead and add that in. And then the last two fields will be a follow up needed. And that's going to be a simple checkbox. So yes, if you want to, if you want to know that they need a follow up, you can check that as true. And then the last field will be the follow up date. So if you do select follow up, you're probably going to want to put a date in there when you're going to follow up with them so that it reminds you. Okay, so we'll go ahead and create that. So now all of our tables are created. One thing I am going to do is over here on the sidebar here, this is personal user preference, but I'm going to go ahead and drag that events table up because I kind of want that to be the hierarchy. Events, contacts, interactions. So let's head back over to the events table because we're going to do a few more things in here. So the first thing we are going to do is we're going to click new event so we can look at the form. Now, when you build these tables in these fields in Buildaible, at first, all of them are going to be, vertical down the form. But we want to customize these forms. So I'm going to customize it a little bit first. So if I hit this down arrow and hit edit form, I can now come in and change the layout of the form a bit. So maybe I want to have so the date up here. Maybe I want to have the location. Let me make this a little bit smaller, and move that still a little big. So let's reduce the size of this event name a little further. And now I'll drag that event up because it's probably gonna be an address or something to that effect. So it's probably gonna be pretty big. And then we'll leave description the way that it is. And we'll go ahead and save this. And actually this is a section right here. So I want to change that real quick. So let me go back into edit form and I'll just call this event details. So now that's how this form is laid out when I want to add a new event into the system. So let's just add a new event right now, just so we have something to play with on the other tables as we're building this. So test event, and let's say the event was today, which is 7/29/25, and we'll say this was at a downtown venue. Adding a basic description, if I can type here. And we will go ahead and save and close that event. So now that event is now created in the system. You have it here in the system. I'm going to jump over to the contacts table now. And we're going to hit new contact. And we are going to go through and we're going to customize this form now. So let's go in and hit edit form. I'm going to reduce the size of this full name field. Reduce the size of this company field. We'll keep it about the same size as the full name. And we'll do the same thing with this job title. So I'll move that up here. And now we're going to reduce the size of the email, reduce the size of the phone, and go ahead and move that up. And then we will make this meta event go right up in this section as well. We'll say contact details. Call this contact information. The reason that I'm going to do that is because we are going to add in another section. This one a little bit smaller. Even smaller than that. And now we're going to move this other section up. Reduce its size. Put that other section over here. about that size, and I'm going to call this section Contact Details. And I'm going to move this business card and notes over to that section. So if I hit the little 3 arrows next to the business card image, I say move to Contact Details, and now that's over there. And now if I do the same thing, let me go ahead and reduce this a little bit. Do the same thing to this description. I'm going to move that over to Contact Details, or the notes rather. So now I can reduce this size here, and maybe even make this notes a little bit bigger. So now if I save this, now that is how that form laid out. Now obviously this is personal preference, so you can set up your forms however you want them to look in the system there. But if you look, while I'm creating this new contact, or I'm on this new contact form, if I hit this drop down, I should see that initial test event we created, which I did. So let's go ahead and select that. I'll type in my name. And I can upload a photo, but I'm not going to right now. So we'll go ahead and save this. So now that contact is in the system. It's linked to that test event. So if we go back to the events table and we open up this test event, you actually see me as that contact that was met at that event. So that's how the link a record fields work. That's the way that it works. Okay. So now let's go to the interactions. So if I hit new interaction, I'm going to customize this form again, like the other forms. Hit edit form. Move this contact field a little smaller. Date field a little smaller. You can see it's defaulting to the current date because we set that way. The type of contact. And then this follow-up needed. I will actually leave these two fields, this follow-up needed and this follow-up date, at the bottom underneath of the notes field. And I will go ahead and reduce this section a little bit and save. So now there we go. Now that's how that's form looks like. I hate how this is spaced out here, so let me go ahead and actually edit this again. Space this out a little bit further. And let's add a new section here. Reduce the size of this just slightly. And move this section, make it a little bit smaller. Move that section up next to that. And this is where, let's say, follow up. If you want to do a follow-up. So we'll add that over. And again, that's the cool part about Buildaible. This is all personal preference. So you can set this up however you like to set this up yourself. So we'll go ahead and introduce this a little bit. Go ahead and save that. So now that's how that form is now set up. So let's add you see it's defaulting to today's date because that's how we set up that field. It's defaulting email because that's how we set it up. So let me go ahead and select the contact or myself. Talk to Justin about a template app for Buildaible. And again, I can change this date if I wanted to, change this for the drop down if I wanted to. I'm going to set a follow-up date and say the follow-up date is July 31st. So we'll go ahead and we'll save that. So now that is in the system. And just like when I was added as a contact to that event, if I go back to the context table and open up this contact, I will see that interaction down here at the bottom in the system. Okay, so that is the gist of building an application. Now, what we'll do next is we're going to go back to actually the home of the app, which every application in Buildaible starts off with this template text dashboard that we give you some walkthroughs on how to do certain things that links to our help articles. So let's create a new dashboard. Now first, before we create a dashboard, we're going to put a few reports on there. So we're going to have a report of events, a report of contacts, and then a report of interactions. So we're going to have a report of all of them. So to do that, first of all, before we build the dashboard, we got to create the reports. So if you click in the bottom left corner here and hit reports, we are going to hit new report, and we'll make this a table report, which is just grid style, like you've seen, and that's set up on just to kind of list out, the events. So we're going to start out, we're going to create a events report. And the table source is going to be the events table. And then we got to manage the columns. So I'm going to say event name, date, location, and description. I'm just going to add that in. And that's basically it on this report. So that report is now created in there. So now let's create another report, another table. Contacts by event is what we will call it. This is a report of contacts by event met. And we will go ahead and select contacts. Columns are going to be the full name, company, job title, email, phone. We met an event, and then notes. I'm not going to put the business card image on here. I mean, I guess I could. We could put all the fields on there. But I'm going to take this one a step further and say I want to group these records by what event they were met at. So if you see that, that's how it will group all of the contacts by the event you met them at. So we'll go ahead and save this report. And now we're going to create one additional report, and that's going to be the table report of the interactions by date. Actually, let's do this. Let's make this one a little bit different. Interactions by follow up date. This is probably what you're going to want to see when you log into the system. You're going to want to see, hey, you log in today. You're going to see, do you have any interactions that need to be followed up today, tomorrow, whatever, and kind of prepare for this. So we'll say interactions. We will add in notes, and we will then do group records. We're not going to do that. We'll leave it like this. So actually, let me take this back. Let's just do this interactions by date, so that we have all of our interactions. The by follow-up date is what we have for report filters. And we'll get into that on further demos, but that's where you can just create filters outside of reports, and then any report that you're on, you can use these report filters to refilter the report. So that's one thing we did at Buildaible. We broke out a lot of filters out of reports, so that filters are kind of separate from reports. Instead of building specific reports for specific things, you can have any report, and any report filters that you have in the system, you can filter that report by those pre-built filters by yourself. So we'll do that later. So we'll just have this as just interactions. So I'll go ahead and I will save this. And now I've got these three reports created. So I want to create the dashboard. So again, if I go back to Network Contact Manager, it's just this basic text-based dashboard that comes in. But we'll go in and we will go to the dashboards, and we're going to create a new dashboard. So in this dashboard, we are going to call this default dashboard. And then we'll call this networking. You can create tabs or pages, but we're just going to have one page on this. So we'll just make the initial tab called Networking Contact Manager. And now we are going to add in a report. And we'll add in a couple of them. So we've got those 3 report blocks now. So this first report block, we're going to select the events report. So now you would see all your events right there at that you've been to. The next report, and you can even customize override the heading. So it says events report, that's what it's called. But you can do that, and now it customizes what that heading will be on the dashboard. So the next one we're going to select is going to be the contacts by event, which I actually moved down here, so I'll move that up. Reduce the size of this events one a little bit. I mean, I don't want to reduce it too far because I know we only have one in there now, but you'll be adding others. So we'll go ahead and create this contacts by event, and we'll move this one below. And then the last thing we will do is going to be for block 2 down here, we are going to select the interactions by date. So we're going to make that. So now, default contact. So we go ahead and save changes. So now, and that's already set to default. So now if I go back to the Networking Contact Manager, those are the reports that I now see on the home page there. So when I log into the system, I'll see all of my events, I'll see all the contacts by event, and then I'll see all the interactions by date right there. So that is building a application in Buildaible. Obviously, it's fully customizable to what you want it to look like and what you want it to feel like. But this will now be a template app that will go into our Template App Center that anyone can grab and use at any time. And just start using it or further customize it to their specific needs. Go ahead, sign up for your free Buildaible account today at Buildaible.com. Start building apps like this. And hey, if you got feedback, shoot it our way. As you've seen, my email is jlapeer@Buildaible.com. Give me a shout anytime, and I love your feedback. Thanks so much for being part of our journey, and happy building.